What's the point of all this? This has been on my mind a lot in recent weeks for reasons which will soon be obvious. Discussions, debates, streaming, content creation in general, playing games at all. There are so many things I could be doing with my time. Why choose this? Before anyone jumps to conclusions, this isn't an announcement that I'm quitting or completely changing my channel's direction or anything like that, but while I have more of my usual videos in the works, it felt wrong to just keep going and act like nothing's different. Due warning, this is not a happy video. With the world, figuratively and literally burning all around us, anyone who creates content faces a choice every time they sit down to make something. There are so many important things you could spend your time on, and many people pour all their energy into the fight to make the world a better place. I've done that in the past. I wouldn't rule it out in the future, but it's not something I can do for now. To get through any storm, people need some kind of shelter. For me, the thing which most makes sense of life is stories, be that books, films, TV, or, of course, games. And sharing that experience makes it so much more meaningful, which naturally led me to content creation. I'm not changing the world by doing this, but if I can brighten just one person's day, or give them something to think about, or maybe even challenge them to look at things in a different way, then I can feel like I've done something worthwhile. Or at least, that's what I try to tell myself. For a while now, I've been struggling with all of that and much more. I even took a couple of weeks of streaming for the first time in half a decade and looked for ways to move forward. But sometimes, life throws something at you which stops everything in its tracks. A few weeks ago, my mum passed away. It's one of those things you know is inevitable, but when it happens, it still feels like the world you knew is gone and you're cast adrift into an unfamiliar universe where every little thing feels subtly different in ways you can't describe. We had a complicated relationship, marred by pain and trauma. I did not have a happy childhood. My teenage years were even worse, and I ended up moving out when I was 17 because I just couldn't bear it. Life was hard. She wasn't there when I needed her. She later told me she regretted that many times, but she was still my mum. My leaving led to her at least trying to get better, and eventually, years later, we built a new relationship together. No longer parent and child, but more akin to friends. I hadn't seen her in person for 6 years, but we still talked on occasion. I know she wanted us to be closer, but she understood my need for space and she respected it. She was happy that I had found my way to a good place, and she was proud of me. We weren't close, but at least we were still connected. She was kind and caring, and all the bad sides came from her struggle to live with the trauma of what life had thrown at her. She was trying her best. I loved her. She didn't tell me she was sick. I only found out at the last minute, when it was too late for me to say goodbye. I wish I'd spent more time with her, and it hurts that I'll never have that chance. And now I'm left to wonder, did she need me at the end? Did she consciously make that choice so that my last memories of her would be happy ones instead? Or could I have made a difference? It's hard to deal with this in so many ways that I struggle to put into words. But as always, there are stories others shared with the world which have helped me start to walk that road. I keep thinking back to several which meant a lot to me already, which either feel all the more poignant now, or which I see from a new perspective. And, like I said before, sharing those experiences makes it all the more meaningful. I could do with some meaning in my life right now, so let's talk through the best of them. Beware of spoilers. First, Nahida, my favorite character in Genshin Impact. When the god of wisdom sacrificed herself to save her people, she left behind a branch of her soul to learn, to grow, and become a fresh new incarnation unencumbered by the past. But when the leaders of their nation discovered their new god, they were unimpressed. How could a child lead a city of enlightenment? They locked her up and kept her isolated and ruled in her place instead. For 500 years she was trapped, left to observe her people from within her cage and to wonder if, perhaps, the world was better off without her after all. Until we came along and set her free. For the god of wisdom to be a child seemed an odd choice to many at first, but Nahida was perfection. We often think that wisdom comes from experience, but instead she embodies the wisdom of innocence, that childlike wonder and thirst for answers, uncorrupted by the darkness of the world, and it shines through even in the face of her self-doubt. Through the story, we get to know her. We see her confidence slowly grow and break her free from captivity. And then she steps up to confront an existential threat to her people. The reason for the old gods' self-sacrifice was that their world was corrupted and they needed a fresh beginning to avoid disaster. But that sacrifice is not complete. As long as the memory of Greater Lord Rukkhadevata remains present in the minds of the people, some part of her will linger, the corruption will fester, and they will eventually fall to ruin. Deep down, the one thing Nahida ever really wanted was a parent who loved her, who would take care of her and tell her she was worth it. Instead, the moment she finds the last remnants of her precursor, the first time she holds her in her arms, she has to use her power to wipe the very memory of her existence from the world forever. The climax to this story was the moment Genshin won my heart. I cared so much about that precious little radish, and her courage and resolve in the face of all that pain was devastatingly beautiful. I think I always viewed it more from the traveler's perspective. We're a third party who came to know Nahida, who was there to help her and support her through her trials. She was always precious, and I wanted to protect her. Rukkhadevata's final moments have even greater depth of meaning for me now. Here's another absent mother, another child left to fend for herself in a harsh and uncaring world. Her deepest need was that connection, to have a parent who could see who she was, give her guidance, and love her unconditionally. She got exactly that, but only for one bittersweet moment. And now she's alone once more, left to find her place in the world and maybe work to make things better. Let's just say I can relate to all of this even more right now. Next, a game which could not be more different to Genshin if it tried. To quote the official description, Spiritfarer is a cozy management game about dying. You play as Stella, who finds herself in a spirit realm which exists in the space between life and death. Her job is to find lost souls, ferry them across the endless seas, and release them to the afterlife. The stories in this game are profound, but for now I'll focus on just one. Gwen is the first spirit that you meet, and she's the one who guides you through your new place in the world. She's elegant and witty, and just a little protective, but she's also prickly and haughty and a little bit aloof. I wasn't sure if I liked her all that much at first. But as you get to know her, you learn about her troubled past. While she was born into wealth and privilege, her childhood was marred by distance and neglect, and all her poise just hides her inner pain. While she often retreats into solitude and silence, she opens up to you. She confides about her bitterness towards her fractured past and her self-destructive habits which led to her early demise. Over time, I grew to care for her a lot, but I was not prepared for the depth of feeling that would come when it was time to guide her to the Everdoor and say goodbye to her forever. As you set out on that final journey, she gives you a memento, a lighter she had stolen from her father. Her words are beautiful and haunting. Please use it to remember me by, in the good times, in the bad times. They exist together, intertwined. If there is one thing you learned from me, it should be that. The whole final conversation with her as you rode towards her fate are just as meaningful and moving. And then, at the end, don't forget that I've loved you as much as I could. Goodbye, my friend. Naturally, that whole experience showed me just why people love this game so much. It explores these painful subjects with such heart and soul. Every one of these spirits you ferry to the afterlife has unfinished business, regrets, people they left behind, or people they hope to find waiting for them in the afterlife. Last week, I had to sort through my mum's belongings, decide what I wanted to keep, and deal with passing on the rest. Gwen's words hit me even harder now. That brutal reality, when someone is just gone, is hard to deal with, and the things they left behind can feel like a lifeline, even when just looking at them can cause you pain. The idea that the good times and the bad are woven together feels more true now than ever. The honesty of looking back and acknowledging that bittersweet dichotomy feels like the only way to truly honor your memory of someone so important to you. And that final line, that's what's important. Nobody is perfect, but if they love you as much as they can you really have asked for more? Another game which feels apt right now, which always lives rent-free in my head, is Red Dead Redemption 2. This is a sweeping epic about a world in transition, the illusion of freedom, regrets, consequences, and the downfall of those who refuse to find a place in the new world. Arthur Morgan is an outlaw, torn between his loyalty and his morals, who pays the ultimate price for his misdeeds. He has a rough exterior, but his hidden depths slowly become clear as he comes to realize that the world he knew is ending, crushed under the steady march of progress and civilization. He's forced to reckon with the life he's led and the harm he's caused to innocents. As an incurable illness takes hold of him, he looks back at what he's done and asks the question, can any good he does now outweigh a lifetime of bad? He tries to live his final months with honor, though he remains racked with doubt and regret. I loved this story so much that I've played it from start to finish 3 times, and I'm forever tempted to revisit that world, despite the pain of witnessing Arthur's slow decline. But the part I keep thinking back to now is the epilogue. The first time I played the game, I really struggled to keep going after Arthur's death. He was the soul of the story, and his passing led to the exact same feeling I'm dealing with right now. The world I had come to love was gone, and what was left was an unfamiliar place where everything looked the same but felt completely different. I kept going anyway. I wandered through the places Arthur had spent his time and saw the people there continue with their lives, unaffected, unaware. I found some peace in the beauty of nature, took the time to reflect and heal, and then I continued moving forward. I loved that the epilogue included things like the mundane physical labor of John building his house. That sensation of building something, creating, even in such a form as this, felt somehow right to me. It was a visceral way to evoke that process of finding a new balance in your life after something like this happens, and how commemorating those you've lost coexists with the inevitable march of time and the need to continue with your life. And finally, let's also touch on Frieren, a story which begins where most others would finish. Frieren is an elven mage who has lived detached from the world for centuries, to the point that the passing of a year feels like a lazy afternoon to her. 10 years ago, a hero persuaded her to join him on a quest to save the world, and while she accepted his request, she treated her companions as fleeting passers-by who would be gone before she turned around. The story begins after their final triumph, as she sets off to reclaim her solitude. She returns to her old routine for a while, then comes back to meet up with her friends and watch a meteor shower together, only to find that by now they're all grown old. Satisfied to have seen his elven friend one last time, Himmel the hero passes away in his sleep. At his funeral, Frieren is struck by a grief she never expected. Too late, she realizes how little she understood her friends, how many chances for closeness and companionship she let slip by. This weight of sorrow becomes the catalyst for change. She decides to honor their memory by living differently, by seeking connection and learning to understand and value the all too brief lives of those around her. She sometimes stumbles and struggles to wrest her attention from fixations which could easily engross her for decades at a time, but her quiet determination to make the time with her new friends count this time around, and to honor her previous party's memory along the way, is a powerful undercurrent which moves the story forwards. I need to take the time to properly review Frieren. It was absolute perfection. I loved its deep, quiet sense of melancholy tinged with hope and optimism. I loved how it showed the passage of time, the haunting feeling of revisiting places you once knew, to find them either changed by the passing of the years, or by the simple absence of those who were with you when you last were there. Regret is an indelible part of grief, but to let go of those regrets does not have to mean forgetting. Frieren's journey shows how living your life in ways which honor your lost loved ones can turn that sorrow into a source of strength, which helps you move towards a better place. Frieren cherishes those bright and fleeting memories and learns the lessons they left behind. I only hope that I can do the same. There are so many other reasons I loved that story, but its exploration of grief still stands out. There are countless more I could have covered, but I think I'll leave it there. If there's anything I've learned from all these stories, along with some other personal experience in the past, it's that waiting to feel whole again is a fool's game. Losing someone isn't something you ever really get past. There's no going back to the way things were, and longing for that too much is not good for you. And moving on is a bad term too, since it implies leaving things behind, which isn't healthy either. The pain is there because you had something meaningful, and even though it hurts, it must become a part of you. I'm not okay, and I won't be for a while, but at least I have those memories, the good, the bad, intertwined. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. May you be blessed tonight with the sweetest of dreams.